show you next comes from this book. Now, this is kind of dog-eared. I've lost the outside of it. Maybe when you see the inside. How many of you have seen this book? Do you? Well, you know, one thing I wanted you kids to notice, all the artwork in this book is in black and white. You can sit down here. And those are pencil drawings, just like what you do. But there, I know you're noticing, there's two things on here that are in color. One is the scarf this little girl has on her head, which has the same name as grandmother in Russian. What is it? Very good. She's wearing a red babushka. If you look just beneath her coat, her dress is in color too. Now, I did this on purpose because I wanted you to look at those two things and just keep them in your mind because they're going to become something amazing later in the story. But I also wanted your eyes drawn to her. That little girl is my great-grandmother. She came here all the way from Russia with her mother, her father, and her sister. They landed on Ellis Island. She had to leave behind, though, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, everyone in her life she loved. And in those days, you could not go back. Once you left Russia, you could not go back.
Why?
So she never saw them again.
Why?
Well, they considered you a traitor if you left. That's the way I've heard it. Plus, they were Jews, and Jews were persecuted in Russia at that time. They didn't want them to come back. So the only thing that made her feel good when she came here, she put on that little blue dress and a little red babushka. My guess is she felt like as long as it was next to her skin, home was not that far away. Home was with her. But the day came, as it does for all young people, Anna kept growing and the dress stayed little. And one day she tried it on and it ripped. She went to her mother crying and said, "Mama, what am I going to do if I can't wear the dress and the babushka? I'm going to forget home." Her mother said, "Anna, I know a way." Her mother took out a pair of scissors and cut the dress into pieces. She took those scissors and cut the babushka into pieces. She had a burlap bag full of clothes of all the people that had to leave in Russia, cut their clothes into pieces. Do you know what they did with all those pieces? They made them in the shape of hearts and trees and flowers and animals, and they sewed them into a quilt. The edge of the quilt was Anna's babushka, but the inside were pieces not only her clothes, but the clothes of everybody she loved. And when it was finished, her mother said, "Anna, now when you miss home, just touch the quilt and you'll keep home here." That's why in our family this is called the keeping quilt. Over the years, we've used it as a tablecloth, a picnic blanket. Everybody in my family, when they get married, they stand underneath and it becomes their wedding chuppah. Do you know every new baby in my family has been held in this quilt when they are born? Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take you to the part of the book where a beautiful baby girl was born to my family. There I am in my mother's arms in that quilt. You see the boy? Do you see the boy standing next to the rocker there? Do you know who that is? That's my rotten, red-headed older brother. I've already written 2 books about him. You'll be pleased to know 5 more are coming. We use it as a tablecloth for all of my birthday parties. There's my rotten, red-headed older brother eating all the cake. Oh, listen, if he was visiting your school with me today, kiss your cafeteria goodbye. You know, though, when I was little, the quilt used to be on my bed. And you're probably wondering, well, Patricia, do you still have it? The answer is yes and no. The original quilt got to be almost 126 years old. It started to fall apart. So 22 years ago, I retired it. It is now at a museum. It's at the Mazza Museum at the University of Findlay in Findlay, Ohio. But my daughter and my son came over one day with digital cameras. We put the quilt down on the floor, and they stood over the top of it, photographed it, sent all of that information to my sister-in-law, who lives in the state of Washington. She and her quilting guild downloaded it, and then they sewed me a brand new one. It is exactly a replica of the old one, and for 22 years that has now been the keeping quilt. I brought it. Do you want to see it? Yes! I think sometimes young people think, well, now wait a minute. If it's not the old one, then it's not the real one. Oh no, this is the real one. but this is a second generation. Here it is. And this is exactly, absolutely like the original. Here it is. Now, when I was a little girl, I always used to sleep under the quilt with a yellow horse here by my face. Every night before I go to sleep, I'd run my fingers around the edge of the horse. Do you know, when I touch this horse right now, I can hear my grandmother's voice. She's standing right here. She'd come sit on the edge of the bed and say, Patricia, whose dress made these? And I'd say, well, that's Aunt Pamela's apron. Whose dress is this? That's Uncle Vladimir's shirt. She helped me name the names of all the people whose clothes are here. She would always end, Patricia, whose dress is the blue? I said, well, that's Anna. That's my great-grandma. That was her dress when she came all the way from Russia. Yes, my grandmother. Kids always ask me, what is the first book you wrote? I'm going to show you. This is the very first book I wrote. It is about that thing. What is that? What is it called? Well, what's a more common name for them?
A comet!
Shooting stars.
A
Shooting stars.
comet!
Very good. How many of you have been lucky enough, especially in the summer, to look up and see them streak across the sky? Oh, very good. Hands down. How many of you have heard the minute you see one, you make a wish on them because the wish is going to come true? Oh, very good. All right, hands down. Well, what would you do if one night you're out in your backyard, you look up and you see one, and that thing starts literally tumbling. And the next thing you know, it crashes into your yard. Well, what do you think you do? Besides running and screaming, well, I heard somebody say it. They said, I have a wish. That's exactly what this story is about. It's about a meteor that landed in a yard that people wished on. Now, what you may not realize, this is a true story. It happened on this little farm that you see in the end papers. The book is misleading. It's a little misleading because it is written in the first person, which means it is written as if I stood there that night and I watched all of this happen. I didn't see this happen at all. My mom did. See, this is where my mother grew up. This is my grandparents' house. And the night that it happened, they were sitting in their parlor, minding their own business, and they didn't see it coming. They said it was very dark out, and all of a sudden, they said, it looked as bright as it looks out there now, except it's midnight. Can the sun come out at midnight? No. Oh, everybody got up and ran for the windows, and that's when they heard the sound. Oh, something was thundering out of the sky. When they looked up, there it was, a fiery ball with a long, fiery tail. And that thing was heading right for it. It rolled out of the clouds, went over the wheat field, over the cornfield, over the barn. Finally, it crashed into the yard with one huge boom. My mother said that house shook. Everything was quiet again. Now, in the book, there's a misprint. It's going to tell you this landed in the backyard. No, it didn't. Front yard. The front yard of that farmhouse is about as big as 2 gym floors. It's big. Well, so when the family looked out the front window to see what hit their yard, do you know what they saw?
Meteor.
Well, they didn't see the meteor right away. Actually, they saw the great big hole it made. Well, then when they crept outside and looked in that hole, that's when they saw it. A glowing, hissing, steaming, red-hot piece of falling star. There it was. Now, my grandpa left it in that crater probably for a few days. They're hot. You can't handle them right away. You had to wait till it cooled off. When it did, he called his neighbors over who were farmers, and they brought their shovels and their picks, and they dug it out. They let it stay right where it skidded to a stop. Well, people started coming from everywhere to look at it, wouldn't you? Here's what's interesting, though. Anybody that came there did not want to get very close to it. It made them nervous. But one person did, and he started the legend you are about to hear. He was the first person ever to walk up to it and touch it with his bare hand. See, Grandpa and the other farmers, anytime they handled it, they were wearing great big thick work gloves. No one touched it with their skin. But he did. So I looked at it a minute, reached down, gave it a quick touch. And when he did, he says, ooh, I felt some sort of energy come out of that thing, right into my hand. I mean, it doesn't hurt, it tingles. Well, he left the farm that day, came back in 3 days. Now he's excited. He took my grandpa out by that thing and said, Yoge, you have something incredible here. My grandfather said, well, of course I do. I've got a falling star. How many people have that sitting in their house, in their yards? He says, no, you don't understand. This does something extraordinary. My grandfather said, what are you talking about? He said, well, when I was touching it, I was thinking of something I wanted so much to happen. I was wishing. He said, I touched it, I felt the energy, and I made that wish. And he said, and here's what you're not going to believe. By the time I got home, my wish happened. It came true.
What happened?
We don't know that one, but I'm going to tell you some other things. Well, he started telling everybody in town. You know, by the hundreds, people started coming to my grandpa's farm, walking up to that thing, touching it, feeling the energy, making their wishes. And in my family, we've done exactly the same thing. You know what we found out? That thing works. Still does to this day. Now, it didn't stay in that yard all those years. It was there for a while. But when my grandmother passed away, Grandpa didn't want to live on the farm anymore. Too many memories. So he sold our farm. But he wanted to keep the meteorite in our family, so he took it out of our yard, had our family name carved in the side of it. And he took it to the graveyard where my grandmother is buried. It is now our family headstone. And do you know, busloads of people come to Union City, Michigan every summer now to touch what is now known as the wishing rod. This summer we had Meteor Festival at my house. 4,700 people showed up, kids, and I have 4 bathrooms. Think about that. But I have a what if for you. What if today I had this thing with me? And what if you knew before you leave this room, all you had to do is reach out, touch, and wish, and you knew your wish was going to happen? Well, what do you think you'd wish for? No, don't tell me, I want you to think about it. Obviously, I don't have this with me. Oh, sweetie, it weighs 800 pounds. I can't lift it. I flew here. There's no way they're going to let me on the plane with this. However, you know what I have in here? I have a small piece of that meteor. Guess what you get to do with it in just a minute? You're going to be able to touch it and... Oh my, yes, oh my, yes, oh my, yes, oh yes, oh my, oh yes. Right, listen carefully. I'm going to sit by the door. I'm going to sit by the door with this in my hand. You come by single file with your class, reach up, give it a touch, and have your wishes. Now, there is one rule, though, that you're going to have to follow. My grandpa got a little bit worried. So many people were coming to our farm and wishing. He thought, what if one of them, and this is all it would take, is mean-spirited and selfish? And what if they make a terrible wish that changes everything for you and me, and we wouldn't like the change? So he came up with this rule that you must follow. You can have as many wishes as you want, one touch. However, your very first wish has to be for someone else, not you. In other words, what are you going to do today to make another person happy? Then you can have as many wishes as you want. Maybe you know a kid here at school that doesn't have any friends. Maybe you should wish that they had friends, or better yet, you be their friend. Maybe there's an old person that lives in your neighborhood. Do you know there's nothing sadder than to watch them come to the mailbox and there's nothing there for them? Never go into a neighbor's house without your family. However, do a drawing. Pick a flower. Put it in their mailbox. Let them know some wonderful kid is watching them and that you care what happens to them.
It doesn't mean